Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Fitzpatrick, and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at NetCom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We're very excited to host today's webinar, Keeping Up with Networking Series CCNA Part 1. Presenting today's topic is Kuldeep Singh. Kuldeep is a Microsoft Dynamics professional with over 13 years of experience with enterprises project management skills. He's worked across over 30 countries for end-to-end ERP implementation projects. He's also delivered a number of trainings on Dynamics AX, Dynamics CRM, MS Project Server, SQL Server, SharePoint 2010 application development, and much more. He has integrated AX and CRM with SharePoint 2010, Google Map, Facebook, Scribe, web services, and Skype. He's also successfully implemented Microsoft Dynamics CRM for clients, as well as successfully completing upgrade projects for previous version of CRM. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored towards your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you will get free access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. And now I would like to invite Mary Feeney, Director of our Corporate Learning here at NetCom Learning, to discuss some values and important items. Mary, go ahead.
Thanks, Tracy. NetCom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organization by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We have 9 practice areas in which we specialize. They encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the networking practice area. NetCom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio for networking courses. Here are our upcoming classes on our public schedule. Interconnecting Cisco Networking Device Part 1 or ICND 1, which is scheduled on March 26. Our ICND 2, which is scheduled on April 2. We have DCICIN or Introducing Cisco Data Center Networking on April 2. We have Implementing Cisco Network Security, IINS, scheduled on April 2. We have Implementing Cisco Video Network Devices Part 1 or CIVND 1 and Part 2, scheduled on April 2. We have ICND 1 and ICND 2 or CCNAX Prep Bootcamp, scheduled on April 9. We have the Y-Fund or the Implementing Cisco Wireless Network Fundamentals, scheduled on April 30th. And lastly, we have Implementing Cisco Collaboration Devices, CICD, scheduled on May 14. We can also deliver private training to your teams, of which the learning plan can be customized to the specific needs of your audience. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. With that, I'll turn it back to Tracy.
Thank you so much, Mary, for all that valuable information. So why should you all attend this webinar today? NetCom Learning presents an important installment of its Keeping Up with Networking series. In this webinar, you'll receive the whole portfolio of CCNA certifications, helping to understand which one might be right for you and tell you what you need to know in order to get started. The webinar not only introduces you to CCNA certification, but also provides you with a special lab demo. Now I'd like to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To begin with, you do have the option to adjust the window size to your liking. Simply hit the Escape key and find the Zoom button on the top left corner of your GoToWebinar viewer. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Please feel free to submit any questions you do have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. A PDF copy of today's slides are also in the handout section of your GoToWebinar viewer. And now I'm going to pass this over to Kuldeep, who will be presenting today's topic. All right, Kuldeep, go ahead. You are live.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tracy. So, hello everyone. My name is Kuldeep. I'm pretty much in terms of data center architect. So my prime role is managing and implementing data center networking, and I'm a network architect by profession. So today's webinar, let's start working with that, is heavily focuses on the overview of CCNA, which is from the product line from Cisco, named as Cisco Certified Network Associate. Moving to CCNA career path highlights, we'll be discussing CCNA routing and switching. We'll also be discussing CCNA Wireless. We'll be talking about CCNA Collaboration and Communications. We'll also talk about the CCNA Data Center track, and then we'll be having the questions and answers with the speakers and the other panelists. So let's quickly start working with today's objective. So as I told you, it's a high-level overview of what CCNA is, how you can get into it, and what certification tracks will help you prepare for your lifelong learnings. So let's talk about Cisco is pretty much worldwide known for networks, and if I say that correctly, it's majorly for the enterprise networks. Now, under this presentation, as I mentioned, we'll be talking about routing, switching, wireless, collaboration, and data center. A quick one-liners to everyone. Routing and switching is heavily focuses towards routers and switches. How do you design and configure them? How do you manage them in the ongoing network support? Working with wireless totally talks about the wireless technologies and terminologies which will help you prepare for your enterprise networks. Collaboration talks about the collaborations and communications track, which focuses on VoIP, voice over IP, talks about the IVRs, interactive voice response, how do we configure those devices and start working with them. The data center tracks heavily focuses on the cloud and collaboration in continuation. So pretty much if you want to implement software as a service, or you want to manage your data center over the cloud, or you may have an on-premise data center or a hybrid data center, how do you manage them with Cisco devices? So let's quickly go with the CCNA curriculum generally. So anybody who's interested in learning networking, CCNA is the best place to start, because 76% to 94% of the devices professionally today are supported by Cisco only when it comes to networks. So both of your CCNA curriculum prepare you for the certification and the professional degree using different approaches. Having said that, we have a CCNA Discovery and a CCNA Exploration. The CCNA Discovery students are not expected to have any particular technical skills or knowledge aside from basic PC usage skills, meaning you don't need to be an expert or a pro while you're starting up networking. It's basically for the beginners having just some simple PC handling skills and all, that's it. When I talk about the CCNA Exploration, this is designed to be easily integrated to your degree programs at technical schools, NetCom, or your university. The audience is pretty much to have advanced problem solving and analytical skills. So these are the two stages when we talk about CCNA. One goes the discovery and the other one goes as exploration. And when I talk about, you could be a beginner and you could be an intermediate when we talk about the discovery versus the exploration programs. Starting for that, when I talk about what these are and how they are helpful, so first thing first, we always go for the basics of routings and switchings. To talk about a little bit in detail about it, you may have 1, 10, 100, or thousands of routers in the organization. How do you set up and configure them? How do you manage them? How the network data flows in together? That talks about basics of routing using the Cisco certified routers, along with switching if you have Cisco switches available in the organization, or you're willing to learn how to configure and manage them. So the basic of switching and routing involves the networking based on application. It also involves introduction to career explorations. And for example, if you'd like to go for routings and switching, which is the entry-level profile for everyone into networks, the skills which you will get through that, you could be a network installer, you could be a network technician, you could be a help desk technician, and you'll be able to design your basic networks after getting the routing and switching valuable information with you. Apart from that, when we talk about networking, which is based on technology, the deep discussion, the in-depth discussion about protocols, LANs, WANs, MANs, how to configure VLAN, virtual LANs, how do we do network isolation, how do we start working with securing your network, denial of service attacks, how do we prevent, how do we enable and disable the firewalls, all these things you learn, which are the basics of routings and switching. After your exploration, you'll be a network technician or a network administrator or a network engineer. So that's going to be your job roles or the job profiles once you complete your discovery or exploration path. When I talk about the key factors why anybody should go to networking in terms of choosing your career path, well, that depends on your education, experience, certification you'll be opting for. Apart from that, every organization today is connected to networks. You can consider any industry, whether it's automobiles, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's service industry, whether it's government organization, whether it's education sector, whether it's bill of materials, whether it's any of the underlying sectors over there. Every sector today needs to communicate through technologies, and whenever there is a need of communication, you need underlying networks to support that communication and collaboration. Hence, the need of CCNA arrives over there. So as I mentioned, we'll be talking about various programs, various certifications, and other skills included over there. So let's talk about your explorations things over there. Whenever we talk about somebody entering into the field of Cisco networks, the first thing, the rightful thing to enter there is routing and switching, which is the first course in the sequence, which involves on multiple topics and technologies. One of them is going to be your network fundamental. So when I say the network fundamental, that involves understanding the basic network topologies, the basic network protocols, how data travel through those protocols and all. Then we talk about the routing protocols and the concepts related to the routers, moving to the switching and the wireless section of it, then assigning the WAN, the wide area network, and you will notice that it's exactly the same thing over here, assigning the WAN and network fundamentals, but number 2 and number 3 could easily be switched. So that is up to you whether you want to learn switches first or you want to learn the routers first. Combinedly, that'll help you preparing for your CCNA certification. So having said that, the network fundamental comes at the first step and assigning the WAN comes at the last step, and then these are the configurable steps you can go for routing and switching, or switching then routing. That's exactly the sequence how you should be working up when you talk about the exploration course sequences. When I talk about some of the career paths which you can opt in over there, before I went over there, let me tell you a little bit about the needs of networking today and how organization expects everyone to be functioning under those networking skills. So I'm going to take you to one of my demo instances. As you can see on my screen, I've opened the software. This is altogether a different thing. What I'm trying to explain you is, in this demo domain or this education domain which I'm maintaining, I have 25 physical servers assigned to me only, which is having 213 virtual machines. And you can see that I have 671 processors available. I have more than 2 TB of RAM available, 35 TB of SSD storage and all. And I have plenty of other things altogether to do. To take a quick look, if you talk about the virtual servers which we have, I just go in there and the list is quite long, where I have more than 300 virtual machines just for a single technology on these dedicated hosts. So what I'm trying to explain you can consider this a very mini data center, a very small data center. Now, my specialization goes with the data center network architect. I'm here, or I'm working for designing the networks and managing the networks for the data centers. Having said that, what you might notice, as you can see that I have 80 networks, I have 12 adapters, I have 15 internal networks over there. What does that stands for? At any point of time, I have these 213 virtual machines. I may have 500 virtual machines, or I may have 1,500 devices to be managed, or maybe 25,000 devices to be managed. Every set of device may have different set of communication rules. They may have different line of business processes which needs to be followed. For example, if I'm planning this cluster of multiple servers, so I have 25 physical hosts available. If I have a cluster of these 25 hosts, my requirement is very unique given in the industry where I'm sitting. For example, if I'm in the education industry, my first need is isolating these networks. So out of these 213 virtual machines which I'm seeing in here, that might be possible, I may have to break them down in groups. There might be a couple of machines which belongs to internally for management purposes. There might be a couple of machines which belongs to our external consultants who are not part of the organization. There'll be the machines which we are distributing to our students, whoever's enrolling with us. So the first need which occurs over here is, for example, we are running various technology batches every week at NetCom Learning, and we have to provide every student the lab so they can practice or the hands-on labs where they practice. To be able to do that, we need to ensure that one student shouldn't be able to interrupt at any other student's environment, meaning they should be completely isolated. So as the situation suggests, if I'm running labs for 100 students next week, as a layman, you might be thinking, I'll be needing 100 different networks and they all must be isolated. They shouldn't be allowing any other student to be able to interact with their labs because they are dedicatedly for one student only. Having said that, the situation could be worse if I'm running the labs for 2,000 students next week. So replicating your work will always never help. For example, if I need 2,000 isolated network and the range could be on and off, 1 week I might need only 20, and in the next week I may have 25,000 isolation networks over there. So having said that, our networking team comes into the picture, and whatever they do on the switches, routers, firewalls, Wi-Fi's, all the physical devices, apart from that, we also need to virtualize our networks. And in today's world, network virtualization is one of the area which is mandatory for each and every industry, doesn't matter from where they belongs to. And having said that, as you can see that I have various networks. I do have my logical switches. I have my networking architecture over there. So the purpose of showing you this mini data center is that it doesn't matter from which industry you belongs to, your business processes will always be demanding in terms of network isolation, network security, making sure you don't have lockdowns from external sources, preventing the attacks, configuring the firewalls and all those things together. Another example, let's consider for a government entity where they go on funds, they go on grants, they go on pledges, and they want to make sure they have their internal departments and they want to segregate their systems from one another. And that's exactly how the networking comes into the picture. You want something to be able to communicate, you want to block something, you want to restrict something to be able to communicate. All of these we do with the help of networking for sure. That's one thing. Let me take you back to my PowerPoint presentation in here. So going to the next section, we'll be talking about career paths and the certifications which are linked from Cisco. So let's talk about your CCNA certification. The Cisco Certified Network Associate is the full form for that. And as I've already told you, CCNA Discovery and CCNA Exploration are the two programs which you'll be going for achieving this certification, which will help you get entered into the world of networking with lots of exposure in terms of knowledge. So it's pretty much the networking for home and small businesses for sure. And you can work at a small to medium business or ISP, internet service provider. Then we go for routings and switchings, and we design some of the small scale networks. In the exploration, we already discussed, we have the fundamentals, the protocols, the switching wireless concept, and accessing the WAN. Combining the wireless plus discovery will help you getting your CCNA certification down here. But as you can see that we have one more term over here, which is CCENT. the Cisco Certified Entry Network Technician. So although this is an optional certification, you can leave it if you want, but if anybody is having only the basic knowledge of networking, having these two topics over there, they can appear for CCENT exam, which will give you credibility if you're being a network help desk operator or a small scale network administrator. You'll be able to do that with the help of CCENT. So this is the first certification in Cisco's world, although that's pretty much optional. And if you already have completed the discovery and the exploration, you can move yourself for the CCNA certification, where you can sit down in any of the Pearson VUE Center across the globe and book your exam right over there. Pretty much about the CCNA. And we discussed two technical terms, the CCENT and the CCNA, what exactly these are. You'll be needing various skills when we talk about having those certifications in your basket. For example, if you want to be a CCENT, the Cisco Certified Entry Network Technician, the skills you must be having before applying for the exam is installing, operating, and troubleshooting small routed and switched networks. For example, just a small example which I gave you, I may have 20, 30, 40, 70 hosts available which are running virtual servers, virtualization engine, and I would like to achieve all the networking requirements over there with the help of routers and switches. The basic optimization of network, making sure the latency is low, the speed is optimal. So I'm using some of the technical terms like the latency, the denial of service, or the firewalls. These are the technical terms which you will learn in detail for any of the Cisco programs you'll start beginning learning. Installing a small wireless network, which also involves LAN and WAN, the wide area network as well. Identify security threats and basic mitigation methods. How do you do that? Manually, of course, we can do them with the help of tools as well. So that's pretty much the skills which you'll be using for the certification towards CCENT. When I talk about the CCNA, that goes with the medium size and the large scale routed and switching networks. It also involves implementing and troubleshooting various protocols. For example, you want to do some load balancing, you want to do some authentication. How does it happen? How does it work? If I give you a small example, what I just said in terms of load balancing and all, though a technical term, let me just take you back in here. As you can see that I have multiple hosts over here, and for any organization, it is one of the critical needs that we always plan for the disaster recovery checklist. We always have our high availability solutions with us. So at any point of time, I don't want that if a wire is malfunctioned or if one device is not working fine due to any reason, my entire network should never be down. Having said that, let's take an example at the host level, at the virtual machine level, and at the network level. So as you can see that I have plenty of hosts available over here. And if I just go back down to a host right over there, T620A, at any point of time, this host is running plenty of virtual machines. If I go right over there, you'll take a look, lots of virtual servers are already running, and I have 20461, 12345, these machines which are up and running. Let's take an example. For any reason, due to any possibility, these virtual machines get failed. The host, the physical host, T620, is no longer available. The possible reasons might be a hardware failure, a hard drive failure, or a power outage, or any kind of network connectivity issue, or any kind of physical disaster happen at the site. Any possible reason to bringing this particular server down. At any point of time, I don't want my customers to be waiting, whoever is working on these servers. So we can always have high availability, a network level high availability. And having said that, what will happen in this demo server, at any point of time, if these machines go down, system will directly move them to this particular host, which I'm considered them as a replica. As you can see that their replica is already running up and running over there, but they're sitting idle. So at any point of time, if the first server went down, all the load will get migrated to my second machines over there. Now we might be wondering how we are migrating that. So there are lots of technologies involved in here. We have storage, we have SAN, we also have Hyper-V, the hypervisors taking care of that. We also have network virtualizations, because one of the critical component is people say, all right, I understand that if one server goes down, their load must be moved to somewhere else, and that's okay with me. But the question comes up, what will happen with the network, how it's moving out? So if I tell you that process, whenever you build a cluster, you're also making clusters for your networking. So at any point of time, your physical network cards are responsible for moving out your stuff. And how do we configure that networking? How do we apply those VLANs? How do we apply different protocols altogether? That's what you generally learn when we talk about CCNAs over here. So these were the two sections which were talking about the skills you'll be needing to get yourself certified. Having said that, if you are a CCNENT, the network technician, you'll be able to set up, install, and maintain PCs, servers, racks, and cablings. What that stands for. So at any point of time, to whoever employer you'll be working or you are working, they do have some on-premise IT solutions. And you need to manage all the setups, installation, maintaining your PCs, servers, racks, and cabling. The question, is it related anything to CCNA? Well, not really, because this is just the placement of those physical devices and installing them. How do we start configuring them? There might be plenty of devices. You may have switches, you may have routers, you may have servers, you may have firewalls, you may have racks, cablings, cable arms, and all. So some are related to networking, some are not. You'll also be responsible for training the users in terms of basic networking techniques. You'll be supporting your senior technicians, and you could staff yourself as a help desk or retrieving calls or isolating the problems and distributing them to the level 2 or level 3 team. You'll be using monitoring tool to verify your network operations, meaning everything's going well, you don't have any problems. If I talk about one small example, having said that, let's just take an example over here. If I log into one other server, as you can see that I've opened my network administrator console over here. It's one of the Cisco switches which we have installed to one of our servers. As you can see that this is having plenty of ports, and 8 ports are open and 8 are down currently. And on the uplink, 2 ports are open. So when I say monitoring, you'll be needing plenty of monitoring tools to monitor your internal as well as external network, making sure things are up and running. And if there is something wrong, you should be able to see that under logs and start reporting that to your L2 and L3 team, that they'll start rectifying that on the network devices. So that's one example. This is one tool provided to us by Dell, which is our hardware vendor, and we can monitor our switch which is currently being used and what's the status of that. At any point of time, I can click on any of the single port and I can configure those port specific options. So if I'm looking for 10 gig Ethernet switch and I would like to configure something right over there, I can do all those configurations. Having said that, when I talk about configure, that's pretty much not a task for CCENT. The configuration goes with the CCNA. If you want to configure any of the network devices, that's what they talk about. You assist in the design, the installation, the configuration, and maintenance of your routers and switches along with your network planning and all. So isolating your network problems, supporting the users for hardware and software, using the monitoring tools, that all goes with CCNA at pretty much at the high level comparatively to the CCENT. The job titles which you can expect after having networking skills in your basket, well, you can be an entry-level help desk technician, the technical support, IT system coordinator, operations center technician, technician specialist, or having CCNA in your basket, you could be a senior administrator and moving with your technicians, support specialist, network admin, support specialist, and help desk support specialist. You can have all those job profiles available. So that's one thing, and so far what we have discussed over here is pretty much the CCNA and the CCENT, which is the first step to enter into the networking world. When I talk about multiple tracks, so as we already mentioned at NetCom, we provide 9 value chains, 9 streaming supports, nine training verticals where we have 9 different segments. So if I talk something about which are purely based on Cisco, we do have the cloud, and when I say cloud, it could be a private cloud, it could be a public cloud, or it could be a hybrid cloud. Having said that, you could be working on Microsoft Azure or Amazon AWS Cloud or IBM Cloud or Google Cloud. These are the public clouds available. You could be on the private cloud, which your own organization is having, or you could be in a hybrid cloud, meaning some of the devices are on-premise and some of the devices are over the cloud. So for cloud, we have 2 certifications available from Cisco. One is CCNA and the second one is CCNP. CCNA is the associate, which is the Cisco Certified Network Associate, and the CCNP is a professional level certification, which focuses on Cisco Certified Network Professional. You do have collaboration. When I talk about that, as a layman, you can consider any organization, they do have VoIPs today, voice over IPs. And if you call any of the customer service, you have an automated IVR system, press 1 for support, press 2 for sales, press 3 for service, and you have all those options available in there. So how do we design them? How do we route them to the correct department? That's what we call a collaboration routing. Then we have the data center. Any organization which is planning to have a mini data center, a small scale, mid scale, or a large scale data center, they go with the data center level examinations. That involves the CCNA, the Network Associate, the CCNP, the Network Professional, and that also goes for CCIE. This is my Cisco Certified Expert exam, which you can start working with the data center vertical over there. When you talk about designing networks, this is one of the very basic building block. And to talk about that, this is one of the most valuable certification today, because most of the companies are moving to the cloud, or they are having their own data center and they need good network technicians to design their network effectively so it'll be easy to manage. Having said that, you do have CCENT for that. You do have the CCDA, the Design Associate. You have the CCDP, the Design Professional, and you have the Design Expert. And this is the only vertical where you have the Architect level exam. You have CCAR, Cisco Certified Architect on design. You have big industrials, big automobiles, moving ins and outs, big parts and engines all together. For industrial, they do have CCNA and CCIE. So when I talk about major certifications, you have an entry-level exam, which is my ENT, the Entry Network Technician. You have an associate level exam, which is pronounced as CCNA more often, the Cisco Certified Network Associate. You do have professional over there. More often, it's always going to be CCNP, Cisco Certified Network Professional, except one exception, which is the design vertical. This is known as CCDP, Cisco Certified Design Professional. You have an expert level exam, which is CCIE. You have an architect, which is CCAR. These are the tracks which you can opt for. These are the industries and segments where you can start moving on. Routing and switching, as we were discussing through today, our whole discussion is moving around routing and switching. So CCENT and CCNA is pretty much what majorly moves for routing and switching if you'd like to enter into networking world. Then it goes for the security, securing your network both internally and externally, and both from unauthorized access or undetermined access in terms of somebody's trying to crack your networks. They are launching a denial of service attack. They are trying to do a infinite ping over your networks. How do you control them? How do you monitor and track them? And even if you have some unauthorized access in the past, how do you block them for the future? So all the network security, who will be able to access what kind of network packets will flow through my defined streams, all those things together we discuss in the security. We go with the service provider path, and this is the second most used credentials in terms of Cisco history. The service provider today are very famous in terms of, If you're acting as a service provider, you're offering multi-tenancy, meaning you're managing your network as well as your customer's network. You may have 20, 30, 40 different customers along with you. Having said that, it's your own organization plus 30 more customers. So you're technically managing 31 organization with their policies, with their network specifications, with their accesses and all, and you're acting as a service provider for them. So that's another thing. Consider an example of telecommunications. They are managing their own network and they're pretty much managing the customers' networks as well. When I talk about wireless, installing, configuring, managing the wireless, Wi-Fi networks, restrictions, all those things can go over there as well. So these are my technologies or line of business applications, and these are my tracks when I talk about entry-level, associate, professional, expert, or architect. There is only one architect exam, which is for design, and apart from that, more often we go for CCNA or CCNP or CCIE. You can optionally go for CCENT as well, but there is no hard and fast rule for completing CCENT before you can apply for CCNA. So CCNA is a direct jump. You can directly skill yourself against CCNA and appear for the exam. When I talk about some of the supporting materials in terms of how do you get all those details, you do have Cisco. You can get all the details about Cisco. And when I talk about the curriculums in there, the course which we are offering, so to best serve our students in NetCom, our goal is pretty much to assure all the students gets the best training and post-training support along with certifications. When I talk about NetCom learning, we have a very impressive pass rate in terms of Cisco certification tracks. It's nearly 98.5% in terms of people who attempt their certification. They're clearing them in the first attempt. In terms of more details, you can always visit us at www.netcomlearning.com, or you can always contact your NetCom Learning consultant for future requirements, your questions, your feedbacks, and suggestions. Now let me turn back to Tracy, who'll be taking care of questions, and when we have the questions, I'll pretty much answer them over there. Tracy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Kildeep, for that very informative webinar. And as we here at NetCom celebrate our 20th anniversary to serve you with the best in class IT and business certification training, we bring you an unbeatable 20th year celebration offer this month to make your learning even more fantastic. We are offering up to 50% off on some of our popular courses. NetCom Learning offers a comprehensive portfolio for networking courses, which you can see right up there on your screen. So do take advantage of all of those courses that we are offering at 50% off. Team training can be customized and accelerated to meet your organization's specific needs. You can contact us today to be connected to one of our learning consultants to help advise you on your specific needs, or email webinar@netcomlearning.com, or search our catalog at www.netcomlearning.com. And we all know that technical skills are necessary to empower our careers, but do you need to improve or upgrade your leadership skill as well in order to accelerate your career? Along with your technical abilities, develop the skills you need to manage yourself, others, and business better. Welcome to Starter Learning, a collaborative knowledge platform bringing the world's best business and leadership insights from Fortune 1000 leaders, best-selling authors, and Ivy League professors. Further, if you are interested in learning from the top American leaders, you can log on to the e-learning platform at starterlearning.com. Avail the special promotion meant for first-time users. You can use coupon code SARTER10 and begin your leadership journey now. And right now we are going to launch a quick poll to find out how many people might be interested in taking some additional training. So please just take a few minutes to fill that out before you get back to work and have to log off with us. We would greatly appreciate that. And finally, don't forget to like and follow our social media pages to get the latest technology updates. You can refer to the GoToWebinar chat window for all of our links, and we do have a lot more informative webinars coming up. You can also go to netcomlearning.com/webinars in order to register. Do you have any other final thoughts now before we end today's session? Hey, Kuldeep, any final thoughts before we end today's session?
Well, I'm absolutely great. So let's have questions from the audience. If anybody's having any questions which they would like to answer, both technical, business process, or how to do things, I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, while we're waiting for some questions, yeah, just give us some final thoughts or anything else you wanted to add from this fantastic webinar today.
Okay, perfect. So in the meanwhile, you're working on your questions in the polls. So just to quickly review, guys, what we have done. So networking, in general, networking is pretty much a good start for every industry, for every business process. It doesn't matter for which organization do you work, for which industry vertical do you work. Comparative to other technologies today, if you are yourself into a more generic technology, you're focusing or you're putting yourself for a specific market segment only. But having networking into your skill guide or into your skill basket, you're pretty much opening up for all the verticals. And Cisco, as we all know, is the market leader on networking devices and networking programs. So pretty much about networking, CCNA is the first thing to go. And of course, at NetCom Learning, we go with two segments of it, ICND1 and the ICND2. Just to tell you what the name suggests, the ICND1 is Interconnecting Network Devices Part 1 and Interconnecting Network Devices Part 2. So these two courses consist of all the skills which will help you preparing your CCNA certification. And it's for everyone, guys. You can always block your seats in terms of upcoming training sessions, which Tracy just shown you, and you can always consult on the Learning Consultant. And I wish you best of luck for your future endeavors in terms of networking learning. Thanks a lot.
And thank you, Kuldeep, Mary, and all of you for joining us today. If you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.